Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
The UI that you define will create sections for you in the backend. Correct. Now any change that I need to make in the UI will start from your section rules. Inside the sections I have, it's like a collection of different items. It could be text boxes. It could be radio choices buttons. It could be drop downs. And I have a lot of different aspects which they can group in a section. Now, within a section, you have something called as dynamic layouts. These dynamic layouts are something which group elements together. We will be talking about these layouts. How can you customize them? How can you add in some templates to them? Along with this, we will talk about these templates, but after looking at the guidelines. Always minimize the data elements to a set that is critical to your screen. Do not use some irrelevant information. Do not collect some irrelevant information from the user. Suppose we are dealing with recruitment. Now, do you think we would need the candidate's spouse's medical history here? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But maybe after the candidate is onboarded, then I might need. But on this context, it is not important for me. Then let us ask for those kind of information from the user. And do not let the users guess what is happening with the application. Be clear with the instructions. Give the labels wherever it is necessary. That is the same. And one more important thing is your design consistency. Maintain a consistency throughout all the screens in your application. In one field, suppose date of birth, shows a calendar in one of the screens. In some other screen, you show it as a drop down, then I cannot call. Your application is consistent. Right. At least for the same type of controls. You use the same or try to maintain a consistency across these elements. It doesn't mean you need to use some flashy colors and labels. Just stick to the basics. If you are asking the user the first name, let it be first name. Do not put some fancy labels or not. Fancy stuff isn't required. You don't need to go with animations or not. Let it be pleasant to the user and let it serve the purpose. Now if I have to go back to the application once, now let me click on Configure View. Let me click on the view. I'm just checking in mind. That's also refreshing. Maybe I think I need to load the instance first. I think so. I th- sorry. Still rolling. Your design only basic is done by BS, isn't it? Correct? Correct. Correct. Majority of it. I mean, once the high level design is done, it is taken care of the studio again. And you told wireframe its mock. That is not done by BS. I mean, in few aspects. I mean, in few projects that I've seen, the product owners would be very specific, like they give the wireframes, also sometimes the mock screens. But in few projects, I think we are flexible enough. They do it themselves. I think that depends what it means, like who looks into that aspect. But it's good to at least have an understanding of how that works. Even this is like wireframing, isn't it? We are doing mock in the sense, then it will be refined by. Correct. Yes. If the client doesn't have a specific idea of how a screen looks like, I think we can show him. This is how our application is going to be. And these are the screens, the mock screens that are going to be. We can show him. We can have a review of the client directly. I clicked on the collect information, and on the right side here is the configure. Click on this. Thank you. Thank you. It's come now. Yes. Yes, here is it. But I mean, this is like the regular view that we see. But now, in order to customize this or in order to change the way this looks, how would I open that is, open it from the process. Configure views are a regular one where we directly design the field and the field type which select all of it. I do not need to check in order to change the way. Let me open this. Here, if you see an option like you see the workflow, it's like a flow chart that you see. In order to pull the sections, let me open it on the Dev Studio. This has to be done from there. Right. You can go back to the App Studio whenever the code. Let me click on this connector. Don't need to worry about these ruled forms, like flow actions. Don't need to worry. But inside this we have a section. Let me open it. You see, this is how the section looks like. And currently the template used is a one column. That's why I see all the elements are in one single column. If I want, I can change the template. I can change the way this looks like. These are the multiple options that I could deal with. There's a 2-column template with equal screen space. There is a 2-column with 70. There's a 2-column 70-30. There's 3-column, 4-column and a lot of other things. There is list with image metadata and actions. This you can take an example of Make My Trip, right? Where you search for the flight. You give the source. You give the destination. And then you give a date. You get a list of all the available flights. You see the flight image, the icon, the logo of that airlines. Then the flight name and details. Then the cost. This is kind of similar to that approach. And yes, we can choose this depending upon what kind of data you're presenting on the screen. As I'm collecting information, maybe I could use a 3-column template. Let me use this. And on the 3-column template, yes, what do you have? There's everything on A. There's nothing on B and C. You can swap. You can change it across. It could be one for address. Right? And this, if you observe, these are the data entities, the candidate list and all. Right. We had it as a list of items. As this is a list, I cannot put it as a 3-column template here. Correct. Because it's a horizontal set of lists that you're showing. I cannot just fit that under one single template on this screen. For at least this particular aspect, my 3-column template will not work or will not be suitable. Basically, for example, let me just remove this for a moment, the candidate list. I would like to remove this. You can. In fact, this is how your candidate list looks in the back end. Your address, date of birth, email, first name, all this we add horizontally. This is part of a candidate list and this is how it looks in the back end. If you think this isn't suitable, yes, you can remove it. For now, just put a candidate and a student. Let's see how this reflects. Let's save this. I'll save this and then I'll go back to the App Studio to have a look. I'll just save this. I'll go back. I'll go back to the App Studio. I'm going to save it and we'll see what happens. The section that we changed. Now we have changed it from a single column template to a 3-column template. Let's see how this looks like. Now you see it is part of a 3-column template. Now the first name, last name, there's email, this address. I'm able to change the way this looks like. Yes, now this 3-column template looks good on the large screen preview, as in like you're using a web or if you're using a desktop, this suit. But will a 3-column on a mobile? No doubt. Right? Let's see how the system reacts to it. We will see different previews. There's a tablet, it is. I think it works good with the tablet. I can choose what kind of tablet it is. It is an Apple iPad or it is Samsung. I can choose different kind of options. And yes, it looks a bit decent on the tablet. I can also orientation it's vertical or horizontal. I think in both the ways, it's still a little decent. I can handle it effectively. What can I expect? A column on a mobile. We'll see what comes now. Oh, it's very bad, isn't it right? Now there isn't any column anymore. Even though we defined the 3-column template in the mobile, this is considered it as a stacked template and it's like only one below the other. I can see how the system adjusts to it. That is nothing but the responsiveness. Initially, if you remember, we spoke about my guy's responsive. It doesn't mean whatever I see on the web, the same thing I see on the mobile, oh, it will automatically reformat it. Exactly. Yes, that's good. One more thing. Here, sorry, I can hear my own echo. Again, this one here, it allows also to use Apple also, isn't it? Yes, correct. I can use the usually Apple. They're very monopolistic. And because when we test in the React Native and all, we need to have MacBook to test on a correct simulator for yours. Within that, we can test for both. It doesn't lie. But in Windows, it will not let you test for yours. Correct. But here is it because they have bought some copy, something from them. Pega not very sure about that. But yes, we can check. They don't do anything without money, and that's true. It's difficult to do anything because it is like that is dominating now. Any app you're developing, you need to also test owners, isn't it? And testers, you should have a Mac. In fact, with this, we would be able to generate mobile applications also. Both Android and iOS can be generated. That's what I was thinking. It's cool, like it's just a click of a button. Yes, anything you do in React Native or anything, you need to do much. We need to do a lot of stuff. Yes, when you're running now, if the client says like you want, they want mobile app and web app. You test and you put the same application and it will. It is responsive and it will take accordingly its shape. Exactly, yes, cool in fact. I mean, we can check on different other devices also. Like you see, I can check with Pixels. Those are all Android. They let anywhere. Apple, that's why I saw Apple and I was really happy. Even for the iPad also, I'd be able to choose from Apple and other Leno Samsung. We can choose from among the different operators. Even though, while designing we have used a 3-column template, the system has adjusted itself according to the device, according to the screen size. One more question I had, I don't know if it's out of scope or something. When you move up to Android like Play Store, they let you. In the sense, there's not much authentication you can do. But when you're going for iOS, you need to have a proper for both of these. We need to have specific certificates. When I want to add in a random app into to the Play Store or yours, I need to have some certificates, right? Yes, all of you apply for Apple, isn't it? If you're going for it. Yes, true. Yes, now we can say that Pega is responsive depending upon the screen, depending upon the device, the resolution that you're handling. Yes, it is responsive. Blindly go with the 3-column template on a mobile, right, which doesn't make any sense to the user. We will get a lot of horizontal scrolling, vertical scrolling. You know the screens would be distorted, all that. In this case, though, we did the 3-column one. It didn't cause any issues, is it still? We can keep exactly. Yes, the mobile, whatever. It will automatically take as it wants, but it will display everything. It will not cut anything for the customers, nothing, no. It will display everything, but just in the order. Yes, now you see, this is how the home screen looks like. Here I can see all the work list. If you remember, we saw the list, use all of that for a user, right? You see all of it here. Everything would be there, but in the way that is designed for this device. That's how you can deal with the responsiveness. And once you start deeper, that's part of the Dev Studio, but directly from a section, these will not be responsive. We have something called as dynamic layouts. Those are responsible for this particular behavior. Sort of a good to know information. That's fine. Don't get it here and there, the dynamic layouts inside the section which is causing this. Right? Are we for any questions? No, I think I asked in between it. And likewise, I can go with any specific template. It need not be a 2-column. One, it could be 3, 4. There are. Otherwise, there are other sort of templates, right? Depending upon the data you're going to present. You can choose those options. Accordingly, the templates option is corresponding to the new Show me how you went to. You went here. You clicked on collect candy. I took done process and sections would be available on the Dev Studio once I click on it. Configure view. You went somewhere else. You first picked on configure view, isn't it correct? Correct, but you can go from here also. Yes, but once this section ended on the Dev Studio, you will not be able to open the configure view directly, like for example. That's why I told you the regular approach, always you. You can see it from the configure view, for example. Now, this is a section that assume a developer is working on it. He will use this view where he gets to see all the dynamic layouts and all I was talking, right? Like inside a section of dynamic layouts. This is where a developer will be working on. And once he converts this into a particular composite view, you cannot open the configure view directly like if I just go back to the App Studio. Oh, but from here you can click and go. Yes, even though if that's not possible, you should know how you can navigate to this section. For example, I think different ways. See now, you see I don't see anything on the configure view. Oh, you don't know what fields are there, what types it is. You need to click on Open Section in Studio instead of going to Dev Studio. That is the way to check from Application Studio in that exactly. Yes, it's always better to know this. I think you can see it from Configure view, isn't it? If you go to No, even from the Dev Studio. Also, if the section is manipulated directly on the sections view, you can see it from the Configure view. You should click on Open Section and this is how you see it. This would be initially there until the developers come into picture. You can work on Configure view. But once they start working on it, then you should go with this process of this approach that workflow chart exactly right. Actually, that's also ready-made produced, isn't it? Otherwise, you need to build one. Otherwise, I do not know what is the name of the section. I should know. Given those details in the search, I should find out it. It becomes hectic. I'm saying even the workflows, instead of first building in Visio and then transferring it to the work. It's all. You can do it directly. It's like it shows your picture here itself. Isn't it even a graphic? Correct. All those we can screenshot and put for the later. If you want any documentation and anything, isn't it? Yes, you can do it now. There's not much documentation, I think, because everything is done as agile ways, isn't it? It is. It is documented as and when true. True. It was a pain when there was waterfall. Correct. There was one team for documentation itself, isn't it? Yes, like 2 to 3 people used to work only on the documentation. True. Are we clear with this? Any question? Farid. Then moving ahead. Yes, I've designed my view or I've designed my layouts. As for the data I want to show understood now, sometimes the forms would be dynamically refreshed, as in like suppose on this context. Here you are collecting the spouse information of a candidate. I don't need the spouse information if the candidate is not married or if probably the candidate does not wish to specify the spouse information of a candidate. If he is married, I would like to ask the spouse details. This is more like depending upon the user input. I want the form to be changed dynamically. How do I with that? How do I put some conditions and how? How do I design these forms dynamically that we'll be looking at? Let me just go back to the original section. I mean the template based section. Based upon certain conditions, I can decide the visibility of a particular element. If you go to the App Studio, here is my case. If I can configure view, yes, I can still see this. Let me open the process. You can directly open it in Dev Studio or you can click the process. Open the connector. It's the same thing again. Either way, let me open the section. Yes, here is your section. Now, yes, I have a lot of this information. Maybe I'll just remove it. Maybe I'll remove this candidate personal information. All of this. I wouldn't need assume. This is how I have first name, last name, date of birth, address, email. Now I would like to collect the marital status of the candidate. For that, what you do? You count the plus sign here. What is it that you want to collect? The marital status. For that, I would use a picker, maybe a drop down. If you have like 3 or more options, you generally go for a drop down. If it's 1 or 2 for the right choice. Where is my drop down? Yes, let me configure it. All of this. Yes, I can do it from configure view also, provided if I'm able to open it, I can directly create a configure. All the fields that you create, they tend to be property backend. Every field that I created, first name, last name, email, phone, all of these are nothing but properties to a developer, right? More like a developer's approach where he can create a property. Otherwise, if you think no, you would like to handle this from the configure view itself. Yes, you can add in your inputs here as in, like your fields. Let us add in a field for collecting the marital status and the spouse details. Let me name it. For this, I'm going to use a pick list. And what is your pick list going to be? Let it be a drop down and I let the choices be single, married, and do not wish to specify now. Along with this, I would also like to ask about the spouse name or spouse details. House name, let it be next. Now, if a candidate chooses single, there's no point of asking him this spouse name, correct? I can set a visibility condition on this spouse name. If the candidate selects married, only then I will ask him this spouse name. Otherwise, I wouldn't ask him these details. Right? Give it right. I'm going to save this, and in order to leave it, we are yet to validate. Yes, we are yet to do that. In order to do this, I should go back and I can do it on this section. Yes, here is your section. I can just refresh it because we already made a change on the App Studio there. The same should be impacted here. You don't see it. Let me just close all of this. I don't see my change. Let me just go back once. Let me see it here, or is it saved, at least on the App Studio? Let me just submit and then once I'll save it here. I think it's not submitted, or what? It's still there, nothing open. Let's open the Solidar Studio. Schedule ఏంటి let's see. I see the marital status. I see the spouse name. By default, spouse name is always available. Whenever I run the case, I see it is displayed. But I would like to set a condition here. What is your condition? By default, your visibility is set to always. But unless the marital status is married, I wouldn't want to show this. You can define the condition. It could be an expression or it could be a when rule. We have already. This has to be done from Dev Studio only. At least this part is from the Dev Studio. The basic dynamic behavior that we are doing is from the Dev Studio. We can define an expression or it could be a when rule. If you think it is reusable across other aspects, you can go for a when rule. Otherwise, you can create an expression. And if you can choose usable everywhere, then what I didn't need to use. You could use a when rule because that's like a function. You can read it everywhere. But the expression is only confined to this part. What is your condition? It is marital status. If it is equal to what? Married. You can add in multiple conditions as required. Save it. If the marital status is married, only then the option for spouse name is visible. And do you need any space when it is hidden? No, I think. Because it is right. I don't want. Exact. I don't need it. Let me see. I'm going to save this. And then I'll save. And then finally, yes, submit and then save this as well. Then go back to the App Studio. Let us see how this looks like. And I got the same, which means all the changes are impacted already. That is her. It has gone to the same preview. Let me just bring it back to the desktop. I mean, the behavior still remains the same. Let's see. By default, I wouldn't see any option for spouse details. Once I select married, do I see? You see, spouse name appears. In some dynamic behavior. Likewise, this could be done for multiple properties based upon multiple conditions. And deal with the dynamic behavior. Clear with this? Any questions? Now on the same context. If you want to calculate some prop values, as in like, suppose you might have visited this online EMI calculator. Correct? You give the loan amount, you give the tenure, you give the rate of interest. You will see an EMI generated. Right. We don't need to click on any submit button, wait for another screen and all isn't required. As into when you change the input, the output is modified. Correct. This is basically your calculated properties. For example, let me go to onboarding. I'll give an upstage here. Let me just name it submission. For example, there is a collect info screen where you're collecting the tenure interest amount and then your EMI has to be calculated. Now, how do I do that? For example, let this be loan amount. An amount would be an integer. Then the tenure of your loan. Tenure. I'll let this be a decimal. Something like 12.513 5 years or something. Then the rate of interest. Interest will also be some 6.5 cent for 39 cent or not. I'll just be a decimal. Now the final. The target that I want is the EMI or the monthly payment that you have to make. I'll just name it EMI. Now this has to be a calculated field. This is not something where the user is going to enter. No, this has to be auto-generated. Correct. In that case, I cannot let it be, a type of text or something. There needs to be some additional aspect here. What is that? Let's see. For now, let this be a decimal, but we will make some changes. Yes, here is an option called is this a calculated field? And of course, it is a read-only field. Once I click on this, you can define the calculation. As in, like, how is this going to be calculated? You can define your mathematical expression. That is possible. The rest of the three would be input fields. It's going to be a calculated read only. Is it going to be a sum of? Is it an average of maximum, of minimum, or is it a custom one that you're defining? Right. You can choose these options. This is one way you can do it. Or if not probably, once I submit this, you see all of them are optional fields. Here you can choose a calculated read only. Either way, it is one and the same. Either you do it while defined or probably it could be done after you define the field. Here you get to see a configure calculation. Here you can define the expression. This, in the developer's terminology, this is called the dictative expression that we are defining. You need to write for looking for in general, but for us it is more like a calculated read-only field. Yes, you can choose the function. Probably. I would like to define a custom function here, which is generally. I think a formula for this is PNR by 100, isn't it? Loan amount times in your times interest by 100. Let me just use this loan amount into tenure into interest divided by 100. What is the dot you're putting back? This one. This gives you the property, the field. We react using a dot. For field prompt. It is like for me to access a particular property, you need to give a dot here. Oh, it already displays. If you don't know how to give it, it shows you exactly now. For example, if I just give a dot, it gives me all the properties on this particular onboarding class. Yes, let me just submit. You can deal with dynamic data displays. You can deal with calculated read only displays also. All of these minor aspects, even though they are minor, it creates a lot of impact. when you show it to the customer. Within probably or two, you can design the whole of this, and if you show, the customer would be really happy, isn't it? Most of this as the B. I write that you don't need to work as a developer. Let's see. Now you see EMI is a read-only field. But I still can use. All of these are input fields. Suppose if I give in data here, probably 1,10,000 euros, 2 interest is maybe 2.5. I see the EMI is being calculated. Whenever I make a change on any of these, I'm changing the 10-year from 2 to 4. Yes, I see a change on the amount. Why is this part? If I've given 2.5, right, interest is 2.5, I see an immediate change on the value. Each time the input parameter is changed, the expression is evaluated, and I see the EI is calculated, and it reflects the new value. It is for every input that you change. You see the change on the value of the page. You see, this is your EMI. These are your calculated read-only fields. And on the developer's terminology, a declare expression rule is created. What is it? A declarative expression rule. I mean it from a developer aspect. If you look at, you can see a declare expression rule created on this property. It just creates a declarative expression, but for us it is more like a read-only calculated field. Both of these things, the read-only calculated fields and your dynamic visibility conditions, both of these will provide a dynamic behavior to your application. It's not it anymore. It's not just it will collect information, then process it somewhere, and then show it somewhere. No, as and when you collect the input, you can see that dynamic behavior. Right? You see, here the declarative rule is created. Yes, EMI, this is the declared expression, which in case if you need some other aspects, the developers would take it from here. They'll start working on this declarative expression. If you need some other aspects to work on, from now on, the developers would take over this. Yes, right, this is how you have, we have created a declare expression from the App Studio, from the App Studio. Thank you. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.